Thank you. My hair has grown out, and I can't do anything unless I have a hat on or a headband or something. So, still getting used to it. Never had long hair before, so I figured since I'm working from home, now would be a good time to try it. All right. I think we made it through chapter 2, but let's double check here. Okay. No, there's a ton of stuff to go over, I guess. Okay. So, I just want to say if anyone is behind on the assignments and you need more time, all you got to do is ask. I'm planning on going a little bit faster today through some of this material to kind of catch up on the material where we are in the assignment. In this case, since we're behind in the material on the assignment, there's going to be no penalty for turning in things late. So don't panic if you're behind. All right. So let me see if I can find where we left off. I just create a new do it like this. All right. So for the rest of the assignments, we're going to need HTML, CSS, JS as our replit language. Okay. And the reason we need this is, and I think I mentioned this in the last video, but I just realized today that I had posted that somehow the link to the database video had ended up as our video on 9/14. So if you haven't seen that video yet, go back and check the announcements. I am in the process of converting these to playlists, so I'm going to try to get that done by today, so you can expect that. It should be much easier for you to find the videos. All right, so let's take a look at what we need. All right, so we're going to start here talking about the prompt function, just quickly here. And so after I've created my project, it's pre-set up with everything, all the basic parts of a website or a web page. 3 different files. JS in this case stands for JavaScript, so that's where we're going to be doing any coding. You can also do JavaScript coding in your HTML file by using the script tags. Okay. If you can also use script tags to insert an external file, and every time you start a new one on Replit, it automatically does this for you. So this line 10 says, I'm inserting some JavaScript here. It's whatever code is in script.js. So by default, just empty, so nothing's going to happen. But let's go ahead and put some code in here. Okay, and so probably 90% of you have already used this if you were looking through the book or the notes. So this is a function, all right, and we use it to take an input. This specific way of taking an input utilizes a part of the browser called the prompt window. All right, I'm not sure if it'll actually work in here or not. All right, so in this case, here's this code makes this pop up. All right. All right. So I can type an answer, hit OK. That's all the program does at this point. So once you have this prompt in here, you could store whatever they type into a variable. So I can create a variable called answer, and then I'm using, remember, equal sign is the assignment operator. So this line of code says, and remember, order of operations. So the right side of the assignment operator gets evaluated first. So the outermost thing here is this prompt function. So it's saying, okay, perform the prompt function with this string as an argument. Remember, strings are variables that store, or it's a data type that stores, I almost said strings of characters. It stores characters together, like words and phrases and anything you want that you can type. Anyway, so we can store that in a variable, and then we can output it directly into the web page by accessing the document object, which is just a fancy way of saying the web page. All right, so I say this is saying on the web page. Okay, JavaScript calls it the document. On the web page, I want to do a document.write, and this is a function that'll just take whatever text is in here and put it in the web page. Okay. So here we have document.write that prints in the page. You can also print out string variables. So we created one up here called answer. Keep creating my semicolons. And so I'm document.write hello, document.write answer, which is whatever I typed in the prompt. We have hello, maybe. Okay, not nice that it's all jammed together like this. So you can actually write HTML in your document.write, and the page will interpret it. So I can just put a line break here and push those down onto 2 lines. Okay. Or I could take it a step further and create just put these in as paragraphs. Like I never typed before. And so here in line 3, when you see this red text like this, this is referring to a string literal. Okay, so it's just these characters, not stored in a variable or anything. Basically what you see is what you get. So here there's one string literal. It has some HTML paragraph tags and some text, all right? Now, to put paragraph tags around a variable, we have to use string concatenation, all right? So the plus operator in JavaScript is overloaded, which means it has multiple functions, depending on what you're using it for. So in this case, if we are putting a plus sign between strings, here we have a string literal of the opening paragraph tag, and here we have a string variable of answer, okay? And then over here we can put our closing tag. Well, those plus signs, when put between strings like this, that's called the concatenation operator. And so what it's going to do is just stick it all together into one string. All right, and then it'll print it out to the screen. We can try that. And then we can see that those have shown up on the page, and we can hit F12. This is anywhere in Chrome. This isn't part of Replit. You can open this inspector tab, the developer console or window, whatever you want to call it, and you hit this little arrow here, and then you can highlight over different elements. So here I can see this hello is a P for paragraph, and I can see all the other properties on it. All right, and then here I can see the code for the web page. So down here in the body, it's putting hello and no. All right, so whatever I type in the prompt box will print out here. Let's see. Yeah, Alex, you mentioned doing the playlist, and it's on my list of tasks, so hopefully I should get that up today. That way it's easier for you to navigate. All right. Moving on. So if you have any questions on the homework, you can post those. I can, we can do some examples in Replit. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep doing the examples of stuff from the notes. And then if you guys have any questions, just post them in the chat, and I'll keep an eye on that. Alright. So that's basically all that stuff. Alright, here, I'm just going to talk about this on slide 24. Let me know if you guys can't access the PowerPoint, because I think the files may be hidden, but I'll turn them on if you can't see them. Because this is nice. If you download it, you can actually copy out some of this example code and put it in your program to kind of test things out. It's a lot easier than typing it. It's easy to make typos. And if you copy and paste it in, you're still going to have to change it to make it do what you want. So you're still going to have to understand how it works. And so that's why I'm okay with that. Okay. Alright, they're just showing you created a variable called BR. It is the string closing, or BR tag. In mine, I did not put a slash at the end of my BR, but it still worked. Let's put another one in there. So if I do it as just BR, okay, then it adds a line. If I put BR slash, do you see the difference? There is no difference on the front end. It's better to use this form. This is the original syntax for the BR tag. It's a standalone tag, so it's just one tag. And so this is how it used to be. So all browsers that process HTML should recognize this. And the reason you should use it is because some people are still using older browsers that don't recognize this. So you're not going to hurt anything by doing it this way. In this class, it doesn't really matter, but I just wanted to explain why you might see it differently. Okay, in the latest version of HTML, you just do this. Okay. All right, moving on. All right, text boxes. Okay, what do we got here? Well, they're not actually using text boxes on the page here yet, but they're considering inside the prompt there is a text. You run this, okay. Chrome opens this. It might be different on other browsers. It might look slightly different, okay. But here in the middle, this is a text box. So no matter what you type in here, will be converted into a string and then stored in whatever variable you're assigning it to, which is important. So if I type 5 and I hit OK, this is the string 5, not the value 5. Okay, so I can demonstrate that real quick for you. Okay, x equals 1 and y equals 2. All right. And then we'll do document.write. So we're going to print something to the page. Inside the parentheses, you can put other functions. You can put expressions. So I'm just going to put an expression in here. So x plus x. And remember, we assigned x as 1 up here. So what do you guys think this should print out? 2. 1 plus 1 is 2, right? That's not too difficult. What about if we do y plus, or x plus y? What do you think that'll be? I'm actually curious. What do you guys think that'll be? All right, see it? All right, so x plus y looks like 212, 212. All right. Now I'm confused as to why that happened. Oh, derp. We got to get rid of this one. So the first two is from this, but it's kind of messing up my example. So let me turn it off. So I'm commenting out this line of code. It turns gray, and it won't. The computer will ignore it. Okay. So we should only see the x plus y at the end here. All right. I'm also going to turn off the prompt because then we don't have to wait every time. All right. So x plus y, 12. All right, does anyone see a problem with that, or what's going on inside the computer? What do you guys think? What is going on? Right, this computer is not good at math, right? Is that the problem? No, what's actually happening is, and this is easy to do. What was that? All right, probably got a package. Anyway, so I know 1 plus 2 isn't 12, but I'm the one that made the mistake here because I'm not telling the computer to add 1 plus 2. This evaluates to is JavaScript checks, okay, this is a integer literal, x has a value of 1 inside of it, so this variable has a value of 1, okay? Y has what in it? Not the value of 2, but the value of the character number 2, okay? So that tells the computer which symbol to use here. This is the character 2. So the value 2 and the character 2 are stored very differently in the computer, and I can show you. See if I can find. Here's characters to binary. Take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at this. Okay. Oh, maybe this one loaded first. Alright, so here we go.
Battery low.
Okay. So in decimal, number 2 is represented by binary like this. Okay. Make a little note on here. Understanding this, understanding the background and what's happening in the background is paramount to understanding what you're doing and telling the computer exactly what you want. Okay. So in this case, let's change this to 2. So this is in the computer looks like this. And then this one, the character 2, there is 0. It's 1's place 0, 2's place is 1, so 1 times 2 is 2. That's how you calculate binary. I don't think we'll have to calculate in binary or anything in this class, so let's see. What am I looking for here? Right. Here's the old version. This shouldn't be this hard to find. Okay, ASCII table. Here we go. So we're looking for 2. That's right here. Okay. Here is the decimal for that, so 50. And if we convert that to binary, that's going to give us the code for the character 2. Now, to calculate 50 in binary, let's see, how many bits do we need? Okay, so we have the 64th place as the 7th character in binary. So some combination, you just go from the left. So 64 doesn't fit in 50, but I'll just do it up here. So there's no 128s in 50, there's no 64s in 50, those are too big, right? Is there a 32 in 50? Yeah, that fits. So we put that in there, and now we subtract 32 from 50, which is 18. 16's, lost my, okay, this is the 4th binary digit. 16 does fit in 18, so yes. That only leaves us with 2 left, so 8 and 4 don't fit in 2, so those are both zeros. 2 fits in 2, so that's a 1, and then we have nothing left over, so 0. So here would be the code to tell it which character to draw out, okay? So, looking at these two values, okay, if I showed you these two binary numbers, would you know that they were a value of 2 and a character 2? No, they're extremely different, and they're stored in the computer differently, and they're manipulated by the computer differently. Characters, compared to just numeric values, do take up a little more space, and what else? They take a little longer, because technically, we haven't, I know we're still at the beginning, but at some point we'll get to arrays, and a string is actually just an array of characters. So, if you know what an array is, that might be helpful. If not, that's actually just, I'm wasting your time by talking about it, sorry. Alright, we need to move on. Did I say everything about those? Okay, so, anyway, the reason I said that is, if you take in a value from the prompt, okay, so remember, here, we are taking in the answer to the question, do you like ice cream? And so let's change this to x plus answer, okay? So a nice feature of Replit is if you highlight over a word, it's going to highlight all the other ones. So I can see quickly, here I'm using x, and right here is where I'm assigning it, so that's going to be a 2. And then answer, if I click that, there's a singing bass that fell on the floor and the dog keeps triggering it. Let me go get that.
Hey, honey.
I'm live streaming.
What?
I'm live streaming.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Trinity keeps triggering the bass.
Oh, you mean the catfish?
Is it a catfish?
It's a catfish.
Oh, okay.
I wondered what that bad music was.
Alright, back to the lecture.
There, I can see your smiley face pan, right?
Why, it doesn't matter.
No, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, now you gave me away. Alright, so, what were we talking about? We were talking about taking values in the text box. So, x is coming, it's going to be 2, alright, because we just hard-coded it in as a 2, and we never change it. Answer, we see it here, but there's no equal sign, so we're not changing it here, but up here we're assigning a value to it, so we know whatever they type in is going to be stored in answer, and then that will be used in the expression down here. Okay? So, if you take in a value, so x is 2, let's put 2 as answer, and so it spits out 22. 2 plus 2, 22, right? So we're having that same problem as before. How can I fix this? Think about it. We have 2 here, and then we typed in a 2, but the 2 that we typed in that gets put into answer, does it look like this one or this one? Which 2 is it? Okay, well, whenever you put a value in a text box, the computer is always going to consider it a string. So this is the 2 that is in answer, and when we try to add an integer to a string, JavaScript says, instead of crashing, I'm just going to convert this to a string and add those together, which, remember, if you add a string and a string together, that's concatenation. So this isn't 22, the value 22. What this is a character for 2 and a character for 2 concatenated together. So if you're ever doing any math and you notice the numbers are coming out in ways that just make absolutely no sense, you might be using a string instead of a value. Okay, so what if we do want to use this as an integer value instead of a string? We need to convert it to a string. Or I'm sorry, from a string to an integer. So what we can do is, I'm going to do this as a separate step. I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm so used to Python that I keep making programming mistakes here, but luckily the browser fixes that for me, which makes me really bad at following the rules because it doesn't force me to. Alright, so you have to force yourself to do it. Alright, you, in a real world environment, if you're using JavaScript, you're going to want it to be tight and secure and not leave open any vulnerabilities. So you want to make sure you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and each of your lines ends with a semicolon. Alright? So I'm going to call this answer integer. Alright? When we create variables, remember we're going to use camel casing. So lowercase first word, always. Every word after that capitalized. Okay, and that's just a convention to help everyone read their code, read each other's code easier, right? Just like in English, I'm not sure if it's a rule that you have to write, from left to right, top to bottom. We just all do that. It's the standard way we read English, right? Other languages may do it differently. So we want to take the value from answer, which is the character that we type in, and convert it to an integer. Okay, so we use the parse int function for that, and it takes one argument, which is any value that you can convert to an int. So characters, strings that are only made of numbers and no other character, it will be able to convert. So you can't have 2 space 2 or 2A2 or anything. You have to have just numbers. You can have 2, 22, 222, anything you want. So here, what this line is doing, I'm going to close this so we can see better. This line here is taking the so remember, this is the assignment operator. Everything on the right side gets evaluated first. So we look at the right side. We have the parse int function is on the outside, so that's going to happen first. And we're passing in an argument of the value that we typed in up here. So if I typed 2 in the prompt, it would put the character 2 here. This function takes whatever character you put in, converts it to an integer, and then returns that value. Okay, so this is going to become whatever number that we have the characters for. And then what's going to happen, it'll be assignments always last. It'll assign that value into our new variable here. Okay, that way we still retain, if we ever need the characters for whatever reason, we can retain that. That's why I created a new variable, right? I could have also just put it back into the same, right back into the same variable. It would just overwrite it. When you assign a value to a variable, it overwrites whatever value was previously in there. And now, this is declaring a variable. Okay, you can either use let or var, all right? And it'll be in blue because that's telling you it's a reserved JavaScript keyword. All right, so you can never use that for anything but what it's reserved for, which is declaring a variable. So if we declare it as answer here, we don't have to ever declare it again, and we don't want to declare it again because there are times, we'll talk about something called scope later, and with JavaScript, it's a little bit of a hassle. It's really easy to work yourself into a corner where variables and functions may end up with the same name, and then you don't know what's going on. So you can't reuse. For now, rule of thumb: don't reuse variable names in the same JavaScript file, okay? Because if I do declare another one and it lets me do that, you may be confused about which one it's using, and it's going to make debugging a lot harder. So, all that to say, you have to declare it first. Then after that, if you want to assign new values to it, don't have to declare it again. And if you try to, it says answer has already been declared, because I'm trying to declare it twice within the same scope, which we'll talk about later. But if I don't put that, okay, I'm going to put in 7. So the character 7 will go into answer. Then we go down to this line. To the right of the assignment operator, the character 7 will go in here. This function will convert it into a number value 7. That gets stored into answer. So answer now has a value of 7 stored in it. Garbage, garbage, this is all stuff that doesn't matter. Down here on 13, we're going to add the value of x plus the value of answer. So that should give us 9. So if you're using text boxes to take in number values, you have to use the parse int function to convert that before you do any calculations. All right. Thank you, Alice. I love, I guess I was informed it was a singing catfish, not a singing bass. Okay, moving on. The toFixed method. All right, so we're going to be calculating a lot of money type things. If you do end up working as a developer for a business, most likely you'll have to deal with some sort of money calculation, whether you're calculating a bill or calculating any number for money. So, we represent, in most places, we represent money to the penny, right? So to the hundredths place in decimals, or 2 decimal places, okay? The only place where I've ever seen it with more than 2 decimal places is like the stock market or bank interest transactions, because you might get like a millionth of a penny every year if you have $1 in your savings account. So that's where you might see this. But most times you're going to see just dollars and cents. So how do we calculate that out? Or how do we format it to have 2 decimal places? All right. I am going to start over here. I'm going to leave this code in here in case we need it. So I'm putting, this is called a block comment. I'm putting that at the beginning. You'll notice everything turned gray. Everything after the opening block comment here becomes just ignored by the computer. It's a comment. To stop the computer from commenting everything out, or to finish your comment out, you put the closing comment block. So now that whole section is ignored by the computer. I can move on to something else. So I'll do let. When you're creating your variable names, it's a good idea to make it readable, first of all, for you. So I used like X and Y earlier because I'm just using arbitrary numbers. You don't want to use X and Y in most of the stuff you're going to be doing here. Reasons why you might use X and Y: if you're doing X and Y coordinates, dimensions, you might use X and Y. But for money, any kind of money value that I want to store, X and Y doesn't tell me anything about what the variable is. So if someone else needs to work on the code, they're going to have to work backwards and figure out what all your variables mean. So put meaningful variable names. All right. It used to be a big deal in the past when computers didn't have a lot of storage space. X and Y would save you, so many characters if you use those, and your program would be smaller. Now it really doesn't matter at all. You don't want to use too long of names, though. So I'm going to just call this Money. That seems good for something called about money. Okay. And so, let's do 5. The value of 5. I have 5 money. We'll just say that's dollars. And we'll do let interest equal 0.01. Does anyone know what that is in percent? So, I get all kinds of students in these classes. Keep in mind that this is not a math class, so if you need help with the formulas in any of the assignments, make sure you ask for help. I think this, if maybe you haven't done math in a while, this is a really good refresher because programming, doing math in your programming is just a way to test your knowledge of math. So you have to figure it out to do the exercise, but it's usually just basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division in these. All right. Now, some of the formulas involve all of those in varying forms. We'll take a look at how to convert that formula into computer code to make it easier. Okay, anyway. So we have money, interest, and we'll say total. So start with 0 there. If you put an initial value in there, you're kind of setting this as an integer variable. Okay? Here we're doing the same thing. We're declaring 3 variables, but we're also initializing them by assigning the first value into that variable. So here, a 5 is an integer, so that would make this the integer data type. 0.01 is not an integer because it's not a whole number. This represents 1%. And actually, what's funny? That would be a really great interest rate on your savings account, 1%. Geez. We actually want 0.01%. So how do we calculate that? Well, we need to add, that's a tenth, that's a thousandth, that's a 10,000th, and so 1% would be here, 1/10 of a percent would be here, 1,000th of a percent would be here. So, oh boy, I think this is like maybe the normal amount for savings accounts. And if you have any income whatsoever, I highly recommend, even if you can just pocket away a few dollars at a time, start saving money that you aren't going to let yourself touch. If you don't do that, you're really going to regret it. I regret it. So I want to go back and I'm 32 now. I want to go back to 18-year-old James and just shake him. Save your money. So you're lucky I can't reach you through the camera here. Anyway, let's calculate out. We're just going to calculate out the money times the interest. So let's just say this is how much interest you'll get a year on your $5. What would that calculate out to? So we want to store this in total, and we want to take our money times interest. Actually, we want to do 1 plus interest to see our new total value, right? We don't want to multiply it by a thousandth, because that will be 1,000th of $5, which is not very much money at all. We want to know what our total account will be with the $5 plus this 1,000th of 1,000th times $5. All right, so we have the amount of money, then multiply that times 1 plus interest. So that just adds the interest on into total. All right, and then if we print that out, total. We'll put a little $sign here. So we now have an account balance of $5 and 5/1000 of a dollar, or 5/100 of a penny. Okay. Oh, I was going to say, if you are interested in saving money, you know, there are a lot of online services that give you way better percent. You just have to Google it. Okay. So this one's almost a full percent. But this high yield probably has some kind of like really high balance. Okay, so this one says 3%. So that's, I don't know if that's going to be all the time. You can get a checking account. Here's what I do. I just get a checking account with, try to find one with over 1% of interest. Then save money. Let the economy burn. Keep your money. Eat rice and beans. Okay. Anyway, so if I saw this in my account, I would probably be very confused because I don't think anywhere is going to ever accept 5/10 of a penny for anything. But the bank has to keep track of that because once you get up to 99 or 100 1/100ths of a penny, you have 1 penny, and they can't cheat you out of that. All right? Well, they're not supposed to. If you've ever seen Office Space, it's the same trick that he did in that movie. In the software he made for the bank, he just rounded these millionths of a penny off to an account. So every transaction that was processed, he was getting the millionth of a penny. He underestimated that there were millions of transactions occurring a day and made too much money. If you haven't seen Office Space, I probably just ruined the movie for you, but it's still funny, so check it out. Very funny comedy. All right. Let's check the chat. Nothing? Okay. Are people still here? Yes. Okay. I do have to stop at 2:15 because I have another class. So let's continue forward. Oh, right. Let's finish the example I'm trying to do here. All right. So how do I get this to 2 decimal places? Well, I'm trying to do these on separate lines, but later on you'll figure out you could do this all more efficiently by combining your code together, but it's easier to see if we do it in individual steps. So in here, in total, I have 5.0005. Okay, that's not an integer. At this point, it's a float value, which is just a fancy term for decimals. Computers and computer memory and computer processors all run on a specific architecture that limits the maximum value of an integer positively and to negative numbers, and then float values have a maximum digit that they can represent. So I don't think we'll run into those issues here, but if you're dealing with really big numbers or really small numbers, you need to do a little more research on float values. For this class, you just need to understand it's going to be a decimal, and you can kind of think of the float data type as a zombie, because as soon as I multiply it times an integer, that result will be a float. Okay, so once it's a float, you multiply it or do any math with it with a integer, it is now a float. So if you let the floats near the integers, they will be converted. Which is, you may want that, okay? Okay, anyway, we need to convert this to have only 2 decimal places, so we're going to assign a new value to total, and we're going to base that off the original value of total calculated here, and do dot to fixed 2. Alright, so this is one of those things where you just have to kind of take my word for it, or I'll spend way too much time explaining it before we need to know it. What the heck is this, right? We've seen document.write. Have we seen any other with dots? Okay, basically what the dot says is of this object, use this method. So inside of a float value, you can access a method. You can call it it's a function, but more specifically, it's a method called toFixed. All right, and right now it's just important what it does, and what that is you put in how many decimal places you want. So in this case, we have, it's not going to show that those other decimal places. So let's go back to the 1%. The 1% interest here. Let's see what that gives us. All right, so that's $5 in my account. In 1 year, I should have. If it's calculated annually and not monthly, I should have $5.05. Okay. But if I don't have the toFix, oh, well, in this case, since it only goes to 2 decimal places, it's going to go there. But if I do $5.50 here, all right, it's going to 3. I don't want that to happen. I only want it to go to 2, so I have to do this. Okay. And so what this does, you'll notice it's not rounding up or rounding down. It's truncating those extra numbers, which is a fancy way of saying chopping them off and just throwing them in the garbage. All right. So we'll put that on here. So we got strings, we have truncating, we have concatenating. We're learning so many new words. I shouldn't put decimals, I should put decimal places. All right. Check the chat. All right, yeah, definitely check out anyone that hasn't seen that, definitely check that out. I feel like most people that would take this class at least know about it. All right, what's next? Can we get through some more? We're close to the end here. So you should be able to do that. You can do these. These are just everything we're doing in here, and I'll post this for you guys. Everything we're doing in here is everything you're going to do in the exercise. So a lot of you have probably already done these for the chapter 2. If you haven't, remember you can have more time. Oh wow, that is the end. Awesome. All right, cool. So we have just a little bit of time to start chapter 3. Let me double check that I'm not misremembering. Okay, so this. Remember, this one was optional, so it's not going to hurt you if you don't do it. Chapter 2, just do the 17th. So again, if you need more time, make sure, if you want to continue in the course, do it because it's only going to build from that material. So if you do need to still do it, don't rush. Take your time and continue to ask me questions if you're stuck. Okay, but everything we went over in this demo today should cover 99% of what you need to do in terms of the programming. But if you have problems with the formulas, you can definitely ask me. Okay, so what else do we have? Monthly expenses isn't due until the 24th. Oh, well, we're fine then. And apparently we aren't even doing Chapter 3. Okay, well, in that case, what is the 24th here? Sorry, I'm looking at my calendar. Yeah, I don't think you guys can see it. And then, oh, Chapter 4 is also due on the 24th. I'm going to mess those due dates up. Okay. Well, let's do a little, I might adjust those due dates. If I adjust due dates, it'll only be back. I will only ever adjust due dates back. If there's a due date past the end of the course, then I've definitely made a mistake. And I don't think Canvas will let me do that, but in that case, I will have to set it back. So, there's my little disclaimer on that. Let's take a look at, I'm just going to turn files on. Or did I link it? PowerPoint video lectures, are they in there? PowerPoint's downloadable in here. Okay. Yeah, they're in here. I think they have Angie's lecture attached. If you want to listen to that, you can. I'm not requiring it. Looking at the PowerPoints is a really good way to see some working code that you can copy and paste in as a starting point for whatever you're doing. So, okay. Let's see what Chapter 4 introduces. Well, we still have 10 minutes here. And again, remember, if you gotta go, you gotta go. It's fine. These are optional to show up live. You can always watch it later, and I'm planning on putting it in a playlist. So Chapter 4, I wonder why we're skipping Chapter 3. Curious about that. What is that? We'll open that. Open the textbook. Oh, crap. These tabs. Okay. I wonder if Chapter 3 is flowcharts. Chapter 4, the sequence structure. And Chapter 4 is the flowcharts. What is the assignment for this then? I think I just changed it from pseudocode to JavaScript on the top, but I want to make sure it's not having me do flowcharts and pseudocode in here. Chapter 4, number 1. Yeah, I'll definitely going to adjust those. Alright, it's just a problem. Okay. Now, is it only I could memorize all the content of all my classes. I can only memorize where it's located. Alright, sequence structures. And hang on. I like to look at the exercises, see what the exercises ask you to do, and then lecture on that. That way when you get to the exercises, you're not lost. So, which one was this? For interest calculator. 150, 151. I'm looking at the right thing. Am I in the right class? Yes. Okay. Oh, is this, okay. Is this in a different thing? No? Oh, yeah, it is. It says page 150. Wait, what? Those page numbers must be off. They must have got a new book right before I took over. Okay. Now I need to play the Jeopardy music for you. Only have 5 minutes. Okay. Sales manager wants to know increase of sales. Okay, that doesn't say interest. Sales manager, da-da-da. 143. Nope. Nope. Alright. Well, you know what? I think I wonder if okay, we saw the buttons one. I guess I'll just change this one to the first one in there. Well, I'm glad I looked at that before you guys did. Alright. Or at least before it was due. Alright, so alright. So just put this in here. Okay. Take off that. Let me see if anyone did submit this, because some people might work ahead. Someone did complete it. So I think I'm going to end the stream here, and I'll fix this before I move on to other tasks. But I'm going to end the stream here. So you guys have a good day. Do email me if you get stuck. If you need anything, make sure you email me. I'm going to say that like 7 times every episode of this, so I don't want anyone to be scared of emailing me. You can email me every day if you want. What am I doing? Ending the stream. Okay. Have a good day. Oh, okay. Thank you, Vincent. Okay. That's all I did on that thing. So they're in the chapter. Oh, where it says Programmer's Workshop. Sure. Oh, okay. Adjust that. Was it you, Vincent, that submitted yours? So they're making the flow chart. And then, oh, okay. So it's just the code's just in here. You gotta put it together. Okay. All right, that's fine. So did I not edit it? It is. All right. Don't you love having to tell me, the instructor, where to find the exercises?
Love it.
All right. All right. Now for real. Have a good day. Email me if you need anything. All right.